Alright peeps, how we doing? Thought I'd jump on do a vid. Uh, I was meant to do my part two with Ali Shannon on Friday because it was mental health week last week, and that's going to be the kind of core focus the part two. But I'd used all my fucking hours up, so it doesn't renew to the beginning of December, so know what I mean, that's my fault, but looking forward to doing it with him anyway. Good guy, some story man, been through the wars, know what I mean, no pun intended, do you know what I mean? But other than that, I'm back at class tomorrow. I haven't been for about 6 weeks or something, obviously causing my shoulder, but it's feeling better now. I can roll, know what I mean? So still getting bouts of tingling and pins and needles in my arm and my horn, but fuck it, know what I mean? That's no excuse not to be gone, know what I mean? But no fancying going out in that fucking weather, but do you know what I mean? But fuck it, innit? Need to roll with the punches. But the reason that I was going to do a video tonight was because I had requested my my historical records from like the council and that, know how like all the files they've got on you, all the shit that's all your data, your records and all that. It was pretty strange looking through all this, if I'm honest. A lot of and it brought back a lot of old memories. And a lot of it's stuff I've spoke about in videos and all that kind of shit. But obviously I've kind of get fragmented memories of it a lot of the time because obviously we're talking about the 90s, fuck's sake, know what I mean? And it kind of hit home about the effect that I must have been having on my grandparents and that. But at the same time, I also remembered my dad has just died, right? So I was my son's age, right? He's 13, I was my son's age, and my dad had died, right, very suddenly. And his brother and sister had already died. So my dad, his sister, and his brother all died within 13 months of each other. So you can kind of see where all this erratic behaviour was coming from. And sometimes when I'm reading it, I'm going, that doesn't sound like the same person I'm or, even though, as I'll always say, perfectly still capable of harm anybody who's been where I've been. I don't believe for a minute if somebody spent like half their life in prison, they come out and say, no, I would never hurt. No, don't talk shit, mate. You've still got it in you. You've got a leash on it now. You've got the handle on it now, right? Do you know what I mean? But just reading it was fucking like, I'm like, how the fuck am I still sitting here? Like, there was a bit where it was saying, and I'd spoke about this in a video, how I was storming outside the shop up my bit, and there was boys for the school that I went to for another scheme were all fucking shit, sticking their fingers up, shouting shit and all that, man. I've ran down, started setting about two of them with an iron bar, and the police took me home, and I was fucking steaming drunk, mate. I was only like 14, man. And I had just came, see, before this happened and all, I had just got the bus up for Govan Hall where I went down to a shop to go and fucking stab somebody who had been fucking shouting shit at me on the phone. The boy was older than me, he was about 18, 19 or something, know what I mean? But that just didn't matter to me back then because there was so much rage and anger, and that was what I got off of these reports. See, one of the biggest themes in these reports was anger and rage, and I think that is one of the stages of grief, and it definitely played a factor in my behaviour because I would have been too scared to do any of this shit if my dad was alive, man. The worst thing I done was get into a fight in school or something. Know what I mean? Just like an argument or a fucking tray of Lego or something. I don't know, I just made that up there, know what I mean? But I wouldn't have been walking about with choppers, chasing cunts through shops and fucking, know what I mean, just pure utter carnage. And there was a lot of kind of documentation for social work, because obviously there was a thing back then called intensive something program or something that would be like a social worker would meet you like 4 times a week and all that, and they would take you to the pictures, take you to McDonald's, fucking talk to you about shit. But one thing I actually felt shite for them reading this was like, Chris doesn't accept responsibility for his actions and all that. Well, what 13-year-old, 14-year-old that's behaving that way, and I stress the word behaving that way because no all of them do, but what 14-year-old even understands, well, they know what they're doing is wrong, but sometimes we don't appreciate what we're doing wrong. We don't really feel the gravity of it, do you know what I mean? And I have always said how I do have empathy, but it's very selective. And sometimes I can't select who I feel empathy for, but for the most part, well, back then at least, it was empathy would have got me killed back then. Do you know what I mean? But one of the things I kind of noticed was how my grandpa was constantly kind of threatening to place me into a children's home, and it never happened. Well, I went to Kerlaw, but obviously the only reason that I was in Kerlaw for a year was because I wasn't old enough to go to prison. I was in there for an abduction charge. But one of the it just made me think about how, like, they must have been fucking at their wits end with me and my brother, man. Like, completely at their wits end with us too, man. And I would like to think that if they could see the way I'm of the now, that they would be, shocked in a good way, proud and all that. But in saying that, my gran died, so my grandpa died when I was in prison, but that was like the year 2000, so we're talking, I'm an 18-year-old boy, he's still not a bit crazy, but you know what I mean. He died in May 2000, but my gran didn't die until 2015, February 2015. And I always remember it because because when I went back into prison in 2011, right, she was writing letters and all that, and see, when I'd be phoning her, she'd be going, "There's fucking murderers doing less time than you, how the fuck's this? I'm going to a lawyer, I'm going to politicians," and all that, right? My gran had never said anything like this, but I think that the reason that she started saying things like that was her way of telling me she knew there was a change in me, do you know what I mean? For the good, for the better. And obviously it was having my son, because without my son, life would hold no meaning. Nothing would have any meaning. Nobody, nothing at all. I always say that, but anyway. She obviously, she didn't go to all that, but I remember, I would just be like, fuck them, they're dafties, I'll do this time and all that, and then I get out and I don't need to go and see social work. I've done my whole sentence, cut my nose off to spite my face, technically, you know what I mean? But that's another story. But I remember just before she died, right, and this is weird, I didn't know she was dying. And I phoned my auntie's house one day, and I was like talking to my cousin, and I was like, "Where's my gran?" They said up at the hospital. I didn't know why she was up there. And when I came off the phone, I went into my cell and I wrote this big letter to her saying how I regretted like all the shit I had done, and like the arm pose kicking her door in, and like fucking like swearing at her and being a wee bastard. But I did tell her that it was all coming for pain. It wasn't because I was a wee bastard. It was because I got fucked up through shit happening. And how I loved her and all that, do you know what I mean? And how I always regretted not being able to tell my grandpa I was sorry and all that kind of shit. And I sent the letter out, and then I think she died not long after that. So doing that gave me a small grain of peace, knowing that I had said all that to her. But and I got out to the funeral for the jail, but took straight back after it, do you know what I mean? And people always used to say to me, "Oh, I felt so sorry for you being locked up in that cell when we were all out here grieving." And I'm like, in a strange way, being in jail protected me from grief. It's like, it's not right in front of you. You're not seeing everybody's pain. You're not feeling everybody's pain. You're just in a wee bubble. And some people might think like that's a bit of a weird way of looking at it. Well, it is how I look at it. Do you know what I mean? It's because you're looking at it through, you think it's weird because you're looking at it through your eyes. You're not looking at it through my eyes, not on top of it. But when I was reading these reports and all that, I was reading how obviously my gran and grandpa were struggling to cope with me and all that because of all the gang fighting, like brought home with police. Some of the things they were saying to her about me was just, I wouldn't say, most of it's true, right, but obviously they were just a bit, it was like they were laying, in some areas, laying on a bit thick with this gang fighting shit and all that, right? But obviously that's their perception, and you know what I mean, just fucking deal with it, innit? But it just links back to all this shit I'm talking about, like with she going to the knife angel and try to kind of use my past to ward others off that path. But I know what it was like when I was that age, man. There was nae telling me. Back then I wanted to do what I was doing, but that was the thing. I didn't have anybody to tell me my son's got me. I had nae cunt. Know what I mean? Fuck's sake. First time I ended up fucking in hospital with a major stab wound, I was my son's age. When I look at my son, if he came in with that, see the hole I had on me? If my son came in the house with that on, or I seen that on my son, that's a bad day for everybody, I think, man. I'd probably end up fucking Banker Stairs or something. Because being a dad, I've got vulnerability now. Like before I had a kid, like I felt like life doesn't affect me. It just happens round about me. Like I'm just a spectator in this world. I'm no part of society. I just live in it. Weird detached way of looking at things. But then you can go for no feeling anything for the most part, to just feeling unconditional love, because I used to think that was a myth. Know what I mean? Tells you all you need to know about my past, innit? But like I used to think, like I used to see people showing like affection and think they were kidding on. like, that isn't real. I don't know why I thought that. And it, probably because I always doubted anybody who showed it to me. I think that's what it was. Probably was that. But it's just crazy as fuck how you can go for being completely unruly, written off. Any meeting they ever had about me, they were like, he will be dead or doing a life sentence by the time he's, 25, whatever it was. The judge in my trial, my last trial, said that. How he is sceptical whether I will ever sort myself out. Well, he said reform or rehabilitate myself, whatever it was. And here I'm sitting, like, getting 16 years in 2003. And I remember when they says you was getting out, it's like, your sentence doesn't finish till 2019. I'm like, it's 2003, you know, man. Like, what? Need the Hubble telescope to see my fucking release date, man. But I used to minimise it by saying, because obviously when you're up in shorts, right, I think 70% of that National Induction Centre, the NIC, was lifers, and guys doing 25 recommendations. So in other words, they're not doing 25 years, they're doing 25 years before they can apply for parole, and they're not getting it their first time. So I'd be like, fuck's sake, man, what have I got to great about, man? I'm doing a weekender compared to them. Still a very big sentence, you know what I mean? But the irony is, it actually helped me see a lot and question a lot of my motives and what had happened in my past growing up with my dad and all that, and just using it to sort myself out. Because, like I always tell you when you're watching this, if I'm talking about this shit, people who, so say you, if you want to call it live by the sword, right, and then you don't live by the sword anymore, do you think you just stop thinking about that while you're alive? You don't stop thinking about it. It's still one of your kind of conflict resolution fucking whatever, right? But it doesn't mean to say you're going to use that, you know what I mean? Let's give me the fear now. But my point is, learned behaviours like that, it's very hard to unlearn, especially if you've got to like your late 20s, early 30s by the time you've stopped doing it. Doesn't it just, it's like if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, right, and I know that's a physical thing, right, whereas mine is more mental, like spiritual, or that kind of shit. Do you think people get off drinking drugs and then never think, like when they're stressed out, whatever, they don't think about getting back to it? Of course they do, fuck's sake. When something happens, whereas before they would have went and got a drink, got a couple of lines, whatever it was they done. It's the same thing for me. The first thing that comes into my head is like lashing out, but I don't do it because obviously the consequences for me would be no good. Know what I mean? Unless obviously there's like a threat to my safety or my son's safety or something, that's different, know what I mean? But no, just because somebody fucking jumped in front of you in a queue or said you were a bam or fucking your scheme's valid after you see all that shit, like fuck off, you gimp, know what I mean? But aye man, it was just I don't even know what I can want to talk shite about all this for, because I think it was just reading all the reports, man. It was like going down memory lane, I swear to God. And it just made me think about all the shit, all the fucking shit that I've done, said, you know what I mean? And obviously talking's therapeutic as well, innit? Do you know what I mean? But there's obviously people with a lot worse experiences than mine, but these are my experiences, you know what I mean? Whereas they're their experiences, but I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of gratitude. But anyway, I am got ahead. And I might be back on tomorrow, because I'm fucking like researching more shit and try to get more pod like interviews and that done. But it's just a slow process, innit? But I hope you all had a good weekend and stayed safe and behaved. Anyway, you all take care, and I'll see you next time I'm on. Catches.